Hello, welcome back to Classic Film Voyages. I'm Vincent. Today we're talking about the adventures of Sherlock Holmes with Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce from 1939. The sequel to The Hound of the Baskervilles, the final film released by 20th Century Fox. This is the one that many consider to be not only one of the best films featuring Rathbone and Bruce as Holmes and Watson, but one of the best Sherlock Holmes films ever produced. It is an adaptation from the Broadway play that was wildly successful from William Gillette. It's very loosely based on that play. They do a lot of omissions and a lot of restructuring of ideas. You might be curious as to the plot, given that the title of the film is The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, and sounds like it could be episodic in nature. Well, we will not do spoilers, but I will say the film starts off with the great detective failing. Moriarty is on trial for murder, but there's not enough evidence to convict him. He is released. At that very moment that he is released, Holmes comes into the trial with new, fresh evidence that can prove Moriarty is guilty. But he is too late, and Moriarty is set free. Later, Moriarty invites Holmes into a cab and tells him he has a plan. He's going to pull off a great crime, and Sherlock Holmes will be none the wiser. So that's really the premise of the film. Holmes has to race against time to uncover what the plot is and to stop Moriarty. He has no idea what the plot is, and neither do we. Except we, the audience, do get a glimpse into Moriarty's thinking and into his plans. And that is one of the strengths of the film. What is revealed to the audience versus what is revealed to the protagonists. In addition, the characterization, the costume design, the production design, the art direction, all draw in the audience to the time period of Victorian England. It's quite impressive given that they filmed it in the back lot of a studio, how they could recreate Victorian London. But they do. And that gift of illusion works well. The cast in this film is quite exceptional. Joining Rathbone and Bruce are George Zucco as Professor Moriarty and Ida Lupino in one of her first roles. So, yes, check out The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. It's one of the best. It's not my personal favorite. It's number 3, 4 out of 14 for me. So there are others that I would place above it, like Hound of the Baskervilles for one. Yes, this film was going to be the second in a theoretical series of films that 20th Century Fox was going to produce that would have been set in Victorian England at the time. But it was not to be because, well, there were a couple of reasons. Primarily, the estate of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle wanted the studio to create adaptations of his work, and the studio was less inclined to do so. In addition, the Second World War was coming on, and so the decision was made to not produce any more films in the Victorian era starring Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce, unfortunately for us. But then, in 1942, Universal came in. And also in the period between 1939 and 1942, the two played the roles on radio, which you can still listen to today. Join me next time, won't you? And we will forego the Victorian era and step into 1940s Europe during the height of the Second World War.